See, the moment you decide to be a reseller, you're going to be faced with a number of decisions. Some of these decisions might be very good. Some of them might be very painful. Some of them might be considered harsh decisions. And this is what it is. And before you go out there typing on the comment section, it's not always so. I'm just going to try to tell you what I mean by saying the moment you decide to be a reseller. A reseller, in my definition, is somebody that actually goes out there to get items to sell on a platform. And the proceeds from these activities, which is the profit you make from doing all these activities, you actually need to pay your rent, to pay all your life expenses. There are some hobby resellers that necessarily do not have to make this kind of decisions. I'm talking about you that have committed to make reselling your source of livelihood, like your mainstay, your source of income. Of course, it could be that you have a job, but you do consider reselling as a major part of your income. You are grinding day and night. You are determined to just make sure that it succeeds. So whatever you do, whatever you are thinking of, you are putting the customers first. And this is what I mean. If you are actually doing this, there's definitely going to be that time in this journey that you are in that you will have to make some painful decisions. You see, I just recently made a very painful decision, and it was so painful that I felt like just sharing it with you guys, because of course I do share these videos because I know it has a way of reaching out to somebody that is actually passing through the same situation. Perhaps you never can tell how the video could just be a source of encouragement to you. This is the reason why I keep pushing out these videos. A few days ago, I sold a computer for about 247 euros. Beautiful computer, decent configurations. Everything was good until yesterday, which was Friday, and I was supposed to ship out this computer. In my usual self, I was just chilling in the warehouse knowing that the car has been sold. Of course, the computer has been checked. And definitely, as soon as I want to do the final check, everything's just going to go smoothly. And when that happens, I'm just going to take the computer, pack it up, and ship it directly to the customer. But little did I know that it wasn't going to happen like that, Typically, I tend to bring out the PCs, clean them up, just to check them again, because sometimes it could be very tricky. When items come to the warehouse, they're in very good working condition, then they stay on the shelves. After about a week or 2 or 3 weeks, the item just suddenly from nowhere magically refuses to work. It has happened not once, not twice. I don't know how to explain this, but sometimes it is just what it is. This was what exactly happened to this computer. So when I brought it out from the shelf, clean it up, switched it on, just to give it some few minutes to run before I finally unplug it and go ahead to pack it up, I noticed that the processor fan, wasn't working properly. It was working, but it was just a little bit too loud. And when it happened, I was already thinking like, no, not again. Today is Friday. There's just no way I can actually lay my hands on a processor fan like this. And funny enough, I did check through the warehouse, because typically I tend to keep stuff like this around. I just don't throw them away, because I know that sometimes, you might need them at some point, because when we receive some PCs, the PCs are in very, very bad optical conditions. Because of that, I can't really sell them. So what I do, I just break out the parts just like this and then keep them all around. Processor fans go to processor fans, RAMs goes to RAM. Different usable parts are just kept. Sometimes I can go ahead to sell them if I do have time, but more often than not, I never ever have time to do these things. All right. So when the processor fan was making this kind of terrible noise, I felt like this was a no. Definitely, I wasn't going to ship this to a buyer just like that, because I know what's going to happen. The buyer is going to receive it and definitely going to reach out to me and say, the PC is in very good condition, but I do not like the noise of the fan. And typically, I also hate having a PC that has a very noisy fan. So what I did do, I looked through the warehouse, guys. There was no way to lay my hands on this fan. And I didn't want to cancel the transaction. This was a decision I could make. I could go ahead to reach out to the buyer and say, look, I was trying to fix the PC and unfortunately it fell from my hand and the PC now doesn't work anymore. I could just make up a story like that just to look for a reason to cancel the transaction. I could actually make a video showing the buyer that, look, I want to ship it out, but the processor fan is not working the way I expect. And unfortunately, we have to cancel the transaction. But when I saw this, I felt like, oh man, it's just Friday. I do not want to lose this income. It's 247 euros, a lot of money. But then there was no way to get around this. There was no way I could actually go ahead and just buy this right now and pick it up and install it right now. But the problem was I did have a processor fan like this on a much, much, much more expensive PC. And this brought me to the point of making a decision if I wanted to remove the processor fan from a very expensive PC and just put it on a 247 euro PC just to enable me ship it out to the buyer. In this case, making the expensive PC to just be without a processor fan. Of course, I'll be able to buy it at some point, possibly very expensive. And when you factor in this transaction, which is the cost of buying this and then replacing it, it's very likely that the transaction might not be a very profitable transaction. But then I had to do what I had to do. This brings me to what I said in the beginning of this video, that look, sometimes you have to make very painful decisions. I looked at it. I was already trying to write this buyer to say, look, I'm not going to be able to ship this item because the item is defective. But on the other hand, I said, the customer saw your offer on eBay, went ahead, put a lot of trust in you, and did go ahead to click on the buy it now button. And the buyer bought this PC with the expectation that he or she was going to receive a computer. How painful will it be, or how disappointing will it be if the buyer gets an email from you saying that, look, sorry, I will not be able to ship this anymore. Even though the buyer might be a considerate buyer, which is going to understand your side of the story, but then I felt like it's not a good buyer experience. And this just brought me to what I do say sometimes on this channel, which is sometimes you have to choose some, sometimes you have to eat some, and sometimes you also have to just win some. And this was a particular transaction where I really needed to just, do what I have to do. So I went ahead, took out the processor fan from the expensive PC, and then installed it and replaced this defective processor fan. As I was doing it, to be honest, I wasn't super happy about it. I was like, no, this is not supposed to be happening right now. What am I going to do? How do I actually get a replacement of this? Of course, I imagine I'll be able to get something like this online, like a replacement for this part. But my only fear or my only consideration is, at what price am I going to get it? I have absolutely no idea what whoever will be selling this will be asking for, but I'll make sure I do the check, at the end of the day, just to see if this will finally be a profitable transaction or just a lost transaction. Of course, sometimes you have to make decisions like this. I'm still happy that this decision is still something I can actually bear. Certain decisions that really go a long way to affecting your bottom line if you are not careful. But the thing is, because we have signed up to be responsible resellers, when things like this happen, we always want to put the buyers first. We want to put the ideas, the wishes of the platform on which we sell on first. And because the wish of the platform called eBay is that, look, when you put an item to sell and you say the item is in good working condition, you always have to do your best to make sure that the item is as described. Of course, this is why eBay frowns at the fact that you send an item that is not as described. And when you do it repeatedly, definitely you're going to get a penalty from eBay. And this penalty might be very, very grave. You might see your listings not showing up in the search. In other words, your listings are going to be suppressed. eBay frowns at it. And because we know this is the wish of the platform on which we sell on, we are not going to say that eBay is harsh about it. When you say the item is in good working condition, always make sure that it's as described. So I did go ahead to replace it, tested this thing to be sure that everything was working, and thereafter I went ahead to pack the PC. And when I was taking the PC to the post office, do you know, guys, I was actually proud of what I have done. I wasn't focusing on the fact that I have an expensive PC right now that needs to be fixed. I wasn't focusing on all that. I was just so proud of myself that, look, at some point, I did go out of my way to actually make sure that a buyer on a platform called eBay did have a very, very good experience. And I'm expecting that when the PC gets delivered, the buyer is going to take a look at this PC and definitely reach out to me and even give me a positive review, because the PC, apart from the fan that was just defective, was supposed to be a very good PC in very, very good condition. And one thing I also saw on the channel is that you never can tell who is on the other side. It could just be that this person on the other side is a major decision maker in his or her company. You never can tell how you sending a beautiful item, a decent item, an item in very good working condition to a buyer can actually bring you more business opportunities. And this was the thinking in my head. I was happy that I was able to take this decision, even though it was a little bit painful, but I was able to do it. I was able to send out this PC to ensure that whoever buys it will have a truly memorable experience having come to the platform called eBay and having specifically come to my shop to buy something. Of course, this is going to be happening to you as well. If you ever find yourself in this situation, my advice for you is to take a responsible decision, put the buyer first, put the ideas of the platform on which you sell first. Definitely, some of these decisions might not be palatable in terms of profit. You may have to lose some money here and there. But if you keep doing this, you are going to be rendering a very valuable service to the buyers. Buyers are going to return back to your shop happy. You're going to be doing your little part in ensuring that the goals of the platform that you sell on are met. And if you keep doing this, at a certain time, you are definitely going to be rewarded. It could be in form of traffic. It could generally be in form of increased visibility to your shop. And when this happens, you are ultimately going to recover whatever losses that you have incurred in the time past by simply making a decision that in the present time you felt actually was not very convenient. I hope the video finds you well. If it does, go ahead and click on the like button, subscribe to the channel, and until I see you again in the next one, peace.